Hello, everybody. We're live, I think. Yes, we are. Welcome to the Talent Attraction Channel this week, the 8th Talent Attraction Channel, and the last one until we have a little summer break so I can go and get tan. So, look, this week we're going to talk about employee-generated content, because I think it's fascinating and I think it's a remarkable story we're going to be hearing about. And although it's matured now, we're going to hear about how it's kind of developed and grown. And we're going to get that from Carmen shortly, and I'll get Carmen to introduce herself very shortly. Housekeeping to start with. This is called the Talent Attraction Channel. If you're talking about this on Twitter, we're referencing it on Twitter. Hashtag is TAChannel. So by all means, use that as you wish. A quick mention to Candidate ID, who are our sponsors. Candidate ID, who I'm, full disclosure, I'm an ambassador and advisor to, and they rock, simply. One way of working out how you get 100,000 people on your ATS down to the ones that actually want work and are interested in your company. And that seems to be a smart way of doing things. So they're the world's first talent pipelining software, and it automates all the bits we're not very good at to make us spend more time on the stuff we're really good at. So look, oh yes, and if you've got questions to ask, please use the bar on the right-hand side where it says say something nice. Please say something nice in there. And ask questions there. Although it says question and answers at the bottom, if you ask a question there, I probably won't see it. It's down below the screen, and I don't get any notifications. So if you ask on the right-hand side, that's cool, because then other people can answer it as well. So onwards and upwards. Let me introduce you to, let Carmen Collins introduce herself. Welcome, Carmen.
Thank you.
Tell
Thank
us a
you
little
for
bit about
having
yourself.
me. And by the way,
pleasure.
if you want to get tan this summer, I live in Florida. Great place to get tan. Here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. So I am Carmen Collins. I'm the social media lead for Cisco's talent brand team. So all of the We Are Cisco channels that you see in social media, that falls under my team. And I've been working for Cisco. I will have my third, we call it a hashtag Ciscoversary. So my third Ciscoversary will be in November. So I've been here almost 3 years. And before that, I worked for several Fortune 500 companies doing social media and content marketing. Started life as a journalist, interestingly enough. Yes, I went to school. I went to the University of Virginia. Wahoo wah! That's always a big part of my online persona. Is where I went to school. But I studied architecture, and then ended up somehow in the communications department. Writing for our school newspaper or one of the school newspapers, and thought I wanted to be a journalist, and it turns out I wanted to do social media. I just didn't know it at the time because it didn't exist at the time. Nobody knew.
It's funny, actually. I did a talk last year to a bunch of university careers counselors, and I was talking about digital roles because I hired social media people for 10 years, and I was telling them that journalism is probably the most popular route into social media because of the writing skills and all that kind of stuff.
You know how to tell a story.
Exactly. And they had no idea. They were like, really? Yes, that's what you do. Because they thought the dying art of newspaper journalism was the only route they could send these people. So I gave them a new lease of life. I think.
Yes, you can be a social media person.
Yay.
Go be an engineer. Actually, go be an engineer. Everybody go be an engineer.
I think
way better.
I think communications and engineering are the two big areas of the future, because I think we need engineers to deal with all the robots that we're going to have, and then we've got to need communication people to help people understand why we're doing this.
I hope that's the way it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, tell me a little. So the reason we've got you on, the reason you were recommended to come onto this show is because Cisco has this rather remarkable story that many people will know and many people won't know about how the employer brand, the talent brand is communicated. So could you introduce that little story to us a little bit, Carmen, about how you changed the face of Cisco's social media presence and therefore its employer brand presence?
Sure. Well, as I said, it's almost my third Ciscoversary. So almost 3 years ago, I came into Cisco specifically to do social media for our employer brand. And at the time, we were a very different team. We were a very different focus. We are doing what a lot of we were doing what a lot of employer brands are doing now, which is hot job, hashtag apply, hashtag now, hashtag job, hashtag career. I'm like, we would hashtag every word except for Cisco. We never hashtag Cisco. I don't know what we were thinking, but you know, it was basically a job board in social. And I love a hot job. I love the comments over here. Hashtag hot job. And we got new leadership. We, at the same time, had a corporate initiative around putting together an official employee value proposition. We don't think of it that way. We call it our people deal. But at its heart, that's what it is. It's what Cisco expects of employees and what employees can expect of Cisco. It really puts employees at the heart of what it's talking about when it talks about human resources. And so all of this was happening and coming together, and our team went through a change, and we got new leadership. Shout out to Macy Andrews. She is now an executive director. She was at the time our director. Now she's done some great work. Our team does some great work, and she's been justly rewarded for that. But she came into the team and kind of took a step back with us. And we like to say we brought in the doctors. And one of our doctors was a talent brand consultant. His name is Ed Nathanson. This audience may know him. And he works for a company called Red Pill Talent. And we had a team offsite with our team, and he WebExed in because we are Cisco. And he basically looked us in the eye or looked us in the webcam and said, "What you guys are doing is terrible." And
get feedback.
And my manager looked at me, and you know, as she and I had conversations about how we wanted to change things and what we wanted to do, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you okay? Like, that's hard to hear." I said, "Oh yeah, it's hard to hear, but he's not wrong. Not wrong." And we felt constrained. I know a lot of companies feel constrained either by the team structure or what you think marketing will let you do. And, you know, I said, we're doing what we can with what we have. And it's a testament to the value that Cisco places on leadership and making great teams. And she basically told us, she's like, "Well, you guys are the subject matter experts. And at Cisco, we have this very startup culture in a lot of teams." And she says, "Fail forward, fail fast, go, fly, be free." And the thing we did do as a team is put together a mission statement to justify everything that we were going to do. And I don't remember how exactly it was written at the offsite. You know, you have the formal, it's got to have this word and this adjective and so many adjectives. I don't remember how we officially wrote it, but what it boiled down to is that we were going to make personal connections with talent. And we talked as a team, okay, the thing that stuck out to me is personal connections, because I've worked in social media since before it was called social media. And, you know, we called it community back in the day when AOL was a great place to work. And so
I think some people say it still is.
It was a different, you know, that was when the internet was, you've got mail
it was revolutionary. Absolutely.
So, you know, we had this idea of personal connections, which really spoke to me as a social media person, because to me, that's what social media is about. Forget the hashtag hot jobs. It's about building a relationship with talent. If you're a recruiter and you're posting jobs all the time, you're noise. You're noise in a very big conversation. When you're making those connections, for example, I know I'm veering off the course, but I swear I'm coming back. When we had our opening on our team to bring in a new social media expert person onto our team, I turned to my network. As we know, employee referral programs often work. I turned to my network because I knew that my colleague was looking, who is my colleague now, she wasn't then, was looking for a role, and I knew she was good at what she did. And had we not had that, our relationship was all social. I mean, we'd met in conferences in person, but our relationship was social. And now we're like social sisters from another mother. Like we're one brain, one thing. But so, you know, those personal connections are so important. And so when we said we're going to make personal connections, the social team specifically, because that was a third of our team at the time. Our team was not then as big as it is now. Of course. And we said, okay, well, how do we do that? Because as a brand, it's very hard to make a personal connection because you're a brand.
Totally. Yeah.
And so we said, well, how are we going to do it? Like, we have to tell our employees stories because that's why you want to work here.
Yeah.
And it evolved over time. How we did it is we were really good in social. And I call it the accidental employee content strategy.
Yeah.
Because we could see in social by listening that we had employee ambassadors. They were talking about why they loved working here at Cisco. They were talking about their teams and the people they worked with and posting pictures on Twitter. And we started on Twitter. And we would respond. We were human beings. Like, we're humans behind the account. We don't bot anything. No bot responses. Thank you for following. It's all people. And so we reach out to them and we're like, well, we would love for you to share that photo with us. Yeah. Because I'm sure that in the legal realm of things, there's something that says if you work for a company and you post about the company, that company has ownership of what you've done. But we don't believe that. They own it. It's their content. It's their story. It's their photo. They own it. So we ask permission. Yeah. And so we would reach out and say, can you please send us the original photo and the story behind it? We'd love to hear it, which is how we built our blog. We have a Life at Cisco blog. We have 2 posts a week. And we are quite frequently the second most viral blog at Cisco, which is the amount of visits versus the amount of shares we get, because we're telling stories. And it's bylined by employees. We're not, we sort of invented our own team tagline last week by accident. It's their byline, our help.
They're the ones who come up with the idea, the content, the story. Actually, they don't know they did it, which is what's great about it. So they'll post something on Twitter or, for example, LinkedIn. I came across an employee LinkedIn post who was talking about how he got a patent, his first patent at Cisco, and how Cisco had helped him get the patent. And I'm like, that's a blog post. Yeah. And he's like, I don't write blog posts. I'm like, well, you kind of did. You just didn't know you did it. So we help put it into a structure of a blog post. But it's their story, their byline. Fantastic.
So this is how we get our stories. And we started in Twitter. And moved to Instagram. We started our Instagram channel just under 2 years ago, moved to Instagram. Those are the 2 that are easiest to listen on. We've managed to insert ourselves in many Cisco Facebook groups now and LinkedIn groups. So we get it in other ways too. But Twitter and Instagram are the main ways. And so that's how we started. It was accidental. I mean, it was just doing social like you should do social.
Yeah, we were talking about this beforehand, wasn't it? There's a reason why social media is social media to start with, and it's not to do with things about recruitment. It's usually things about commonality, and I think that's the thing about the people element, isn't it? I always think it's a simple process in recruitment to consider commonality, to find people who believe in, who like the people that you employ, who think you do something that they think is awesome. I mean, recruit fans is what I always refer to. It's like, find people who actually think you're pretty awesome already and then make the mesh. And we turn it into a kind of a talent digging mining exercise. And then it's just, or even worse, the job posting exercise, which is just
well, we're still working on that. But I just want to say that we listened on, so our Twitter handle, our Instagram handle when we started was Cisco Careers. Yes. Which was all about us and the hot job. Right? Yeah. And now we are Cisco. And you mentioned the word your tribe. And that's really why I think that we've built the employee generated content strategy that we've built is over the last few years, we've trained people, use hashtag We Are Cisco when you're talking about the culture, why you love where you work. And I think it's so powerful, and all of our names across social now are We Are Cisco. It's so powerful because your vibe attracts your tribe. I never get people's titles right, so I know she will kill me. But our head of talent acquisition is speaking at Talent Connect this year, and that's her hook. That's her speech: is your vibe attracts your tribe, and this is our tribe. And they're showing what it's like to work here. That's what makes my job awesome. I have the best job in the world. People can argue with me. It
looks really good.
But I don't have to create. I don't have to make stuff up. I don't have to PR my way to anything.
No.
I'm just amplifying what people say.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the process of reaching this point, I mean, what you've sort of said there for is that basically you identify the people who are doing this stuff out of the organization already effectively. So does that mean technically companies often look, I mean, go back to the IBM story many years ago about how they started their own social kind of revolution. It kind of, and before real social media was a big thing, and Delphine Remy-Bertin, who started it, she just went out to the 200,000, put a Yammer message or whatever out to the 200,000 people in the organization and said, we're going to do this social media thing. Who's in? Who fancies it and who's in? And 127 people came back, and out of 200,000, she was wow at that, even though of course the percentage was that but they started as our 127 people social champions, and they used to, WebEx probably, or however every IBM did a similar thing. But and it was sort of like a fixed group, and they built an internal social network to then develop what they were going to do externally and blah blah. So it was kind of a defined team that they grew. Is that how you've done it, or is it more that actually of your 70,000 people, and everybody or anybody could be this?
Anybody at Cisco could do this.
Yeah.
Anybody. Yeah. Now, it tends to lean a little towards a specific demographic because they are already ambassadors in social anyway. No, but just when we were building our strategy, we went out and found the people. Yeah. We didn't ask anybody. Yes, we didn't ask for ambassadors. Again, it was accidental. I don't know that this was ever our plan. It's a great accident. I'm glad we did it. But we found them first. Yes. And then when we started to amplify what they said, other people were like, wait a minute, how do I get my story out? And they would come to us, and we would get them in the fold. Just pretty much we tell people, and we tell recruiters this, because I know you have a lot of recruiters in your audience. They come to us and they're like, we have to hire X number of people in this team, but we need to brand this team. I'm like, no, you don't. What you need to do is get this team social. Yeah. The first step is not us telling people, oh, this specific engineering team in this specific geo is the greatest ever. It doesn't matter what I as the brand say. It matters what the people who work on the team say. So the first thing you have to do is get them using #WeAreCisco, talking about why they love where you work, because guess where the talent's coming? From their networks. It's not coming from my network, the brand. I say my brand. It's coming from their networks. Like some ridiculous stat, and I know I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like 9% of the people in employees' networks either have never heard of Cisco or don't understand what Cisco as a company does, but would never think of working there. Yeah. And they're the ones that can change it. I can't. Yeah. No. I think that when recruiters get in the way, it gets even worse as well. Because I'm not saying that, but we've changed. No, I know you're not. No, I think it's often the case. I think we sometimes, particularly on social media, we try to put recruiters at the front of all these kind of processes as well, and it's not a good idea. Sometimes the story of the people. I mean, all the work that I do with companies is right. I know I've got a job as the talent acquisition kind of person here, but this is not my stage. This is your stage. It's your company, your people. Who should be there? And I think that I love the thing that you know, because I've said it for years, but it's amazing that it's never really kind of resonated with people, is that if companies start by finding out who their social champions already are without them even realizing, because we never ever, as companies, we never ever find out who our digital influencers are, the people who already have a great network, or when I was doing a work with a big company last year, we found, and I'm doing some kind of training workshops and things, and trying to identify personal brands as well, how people use their personal brands. And there was this kind of very kind of quiet guy. It was from Eastern Europe, and he kind of popped up, and he worked in cybersecurity. So actually, all his talk during the course of this was not good, because of course you don't want to expose too much online and all this kind of stuff. But then he came out with this little pearl that he writes this blog. In fact, he writes two blogs. One was on
his local political stuff, so that probably wasn't worth referring to massively. But the second blog he wrote that had this little kind of cult audience was he wrote because he goes to all the 80 countries in the world. This company, he writes a blog about taxi journeys he has from the airport to the hotel to the hotel to, and he writes and he shares his experience. And although that's kind of like a weird blog in a way, inside all this kind of reserved person was actually this digital native that writes. That documents the stories of what goes on. And actually, if the company could have embraced this earlier to recognize that actually this interesting guy who isn't a front-facing kind of guy at all, he's a back-end guy through and through, he hates the limelight in any kind of way, but actually he was, if they'd caught the stories of this guy going around the world, what a fascinating blog it would have been, story it would have been. And nobody, but how would have people found him? That's the thing, they just didn't.
And that's what, I mean, really, that's how we built our program when we started. It was finding the people who were already doing it. And one of the things, so when we just started using Twitter and Instagram to share out, basically amplify what other people were already doing. And then we went into Snapchat, which took our employee generated content to an entirely new level. But here's the thing: we didn't start at Snapchat. I want companies and TA folks to understand we didn't. This is a growth. This is 2+ years of we started just by finding our ambassadors. And I'll share another story with you. Thank you, Katrina, who says she loves our Snapchat. I love our Snapchat. You know, when we started finding the people in social media, and then, you know, we started getting relationships, and then they would say, oh, here's so-and-so, they have a story, and we would start getting the stories in. When we launched our Snapchat channel, we, again, went back to those original natural ambassadors. And that's when we did ask them, we're going to do something crazy. And we realize it's crazy, and we are embracing the crazy, and would you like to be a part of it? And all of them said yes. And one of them sent an email back to me, which I loved. He said, you know what? I used to think I was this lone wolf. I was this rogue person in social media talking about that I loved working at Cisco, because I really do. And he says, but when you brought us together, that first group of Snapchat ambassadors, we called them rainbow kitten unicorns, everything that's great about the internet. And when we brought them together, he's like, all of a sudden, I was again part of a tribe. I was this We Are Cisco tribe. And that, again, helped us grow more. So we went through stages because once people realized they felt like they were a secret society, we share our metrics with them on Snapchat. They are an extension of our team and thus treated as such. Well-deserved. It's not a strategy. They're helping us. Why wouldn't we? But then it grows again because people want to be a part. I mean, we're human beings. We want to be a part of a tribe. We want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And so that's, again, it took us to a different step. And, you know, you and I talked about before we went live a little bit about trust. So I have to get my trust statistics in there.
The trusted thing.
Because if I don't get the trust statistics, then I haven't done my job today. There's two trust surveys that I refer to a lot. The Nielsen Trust and Advertising Survey, which basically says that people trust their networks more than anything else. I think it's 86%, I think. I'm sure it's changed since the last time I pulled that number, but that's huge.
Gives us an idea. Absolutely. It tells the story in itself. I
mean, and if you look at the political landscape, it also makes sense. You are drawn to the people who are like you. And so, you know, this whole idea of people trust their networks the most. I mean, if I told my network the sky was purple, they'd probably all question me because they're smart people, but they might start buying into the idea. Because
they might just look first.
They'd look, right? And so that's the key. But the second piece of that is this year's Edelman Trust Barometer came out in January of this year. And it had a little tidbit in there. It talked about that expert networks are as trusted as personal networks. So as an expert, as a thought leader, as someone speaking on stage, the people listening would trust their network as much as they trust you, which is key. And the second is that employees are trusted by 16 points more than their CEO. And I would never say that CEO Chuck Robbins is untrustworthy. I just want him to know that because I'm sure he's listening. But he is expected, there's an authenticity about it. He is expected to say, Cisco's a great place to work. Cisco has great products. Cisco has great services. Cisco's awesome. Go Cisco.
Yeah.
That's his job.
Yeah.
Employees are not expected to do that. It's not written into their job description, which is the value of what we at Cisco do. Is that's how we've built our brand around telling other people. It's authentic, it's raw, it's especially on Snapchat. Is it scary? Let me tell you that as a social media person, if you'd have told me 3 years ago that I would hand over the keys to a group of people who are not social media trained, they're not social media strategists, that's not what they do, I would have laughed you out of the room. I would have said, no way. Nuh-uh. But, you know, you have to think about each channel, and that's what we do in social. Instagram is very different for us than Twitter, than Snapchat. We're telling the same stories, but in different ways.
You have to trust that there's different audiences for each, aren't there, and touch points. Yeah, absolutely. Makes lots of sense. I think it's fascinating. And I think I get you. I think the two things about the CEO, and the CEO thing is interesting, because I still think there's always fascinating stories that comes out of CEOs, but then probably not talking about companies of the size of Cisco, because I think
I think there's a difference, though, to your point. I think when Chuck Robbins talks authentically about, he has been on stage many times, and he says, you guys make me look good. Like, I don't have to really go tell the street that we have a great culture, because you guys do it for me. He's embracing, without, I don't know if he consciously knows that he's embracing the We Are Cisco. Maybe he's really smart, so I bet he does. But when he tells his authentic story, it has more weight. But when he is speaking on behalf of a company, when he's doing quarterly earnings report, that's what he's expected to do.
That makes sense.
I agree with you. CEOs have some. Our CEO was on Snapchat.
Good.
And one of our Snapchat ambassadors works in the same building and has a relationship with a lot of the executives. And Chuck Robbins came on our Snapchat and played some basketball. So I think it was for Steph Curry's Call Your Shot.
And I think sometimes and those employees sometimes look to the CEO or the MD or whatever the person is, to still provide a kind of a thing of the vision of the company. I think that's the thing where content from the CEO matters massively. It's like that. They're still kind of making sure they're veering the boat in the right direction, aren't they? All that kind of stuff all the time. But what I totally, a talk I did in Australia last year was was about the difference between personal brands and company brands, and the difference between, and some fascinating stats that are that personal sharing catapults a story versus branded sharing.
Branded
channels versus employee channels. The authenticity level is on a 24 times, I think it is 24 times likely to be shared. It's a phenomenal difference. And
I think that's, again, why we've found, I wish I could claim credit that we're that smart and we had this all planned from the beginning. But again, it's this accidental path that always started with making those personal connections. And it's hiring a team that we are marketers. We are marketers. We're not recruiters. None of us on the team, other than our fearless leader, started NTA. We've learned to adapt to an audience,
of course.
But that's what makes it so powerful is we are not a brand saying it. We are a brand, but we're not a brand saying it.
No, indeed.
We don't have to be. Can I address a question in your
Go for it. Yes, you can see the question now. Good one.
Why are companies so scared of Snapchat? I'll tell you why we were. Snapchat is the ultimate exercise in giving up control.
Yes.
It is meant to have content that is a certain style. It's meant to be raw. It's meant to be authentic. Now, Snapchat has gone public and is facing some serious competition by having all of their technology stolen by Facebook. But they've had to adapt, and they've offered brands now ways to be a little more produced. But I think that the audience, Snapchat is to Gen Y what Facebook was to my generation. That's where they've built their networks. expect content to be a certain way, and it's not expected to be polished. And marketers like polish, right? We like to have the right fonts, and we like to have things look a certain way. And we want to script it, and Snapchat does not work that way. It's not meant to work that way. So that's why companies are very scared of it.
And that's why it's scary enough to marketers, let alone recruiters. I mean, recruiters are more risk averse, and marketers are risk averse enough. So it's
and the disappearing content. I mean, Karina also mentions it disappears. But it doesn't. We save our snaps from our ambassadors. So we have every snap story we've ever done. You can go to our YouTube channel, and We Are Cisco, and relive some of the best of the greatest hits. And you know, it's scary for market. I mean, it was the scariest thing, hands down, that I've ever done in my career. Hands down. And it's paid off. Like people say, would you come speak at our conference about your Snapchat? Sure. We've won some awards because we do it so differently. And I've seen more companies start to do it now, and that I encourage it. That just means, again, like Snapchat itself, we have to innovate and be different.
Brilliant. I mean, you got a little bit of a wobble on your
okay, where did you hear me last?
I think we got you. Well, I think we were still talking about your Snapchat. We got the enthusiasm for the Snapchat, but I think
I'm
you
sorry.
wobbled as we were.
Well, yeah, I was just saying that
last bit there. That's all right.
It's so powerful, and we've won awards for it, and people are starting to do what we do, and that's great. I encourage it. I tell people to do it their way. You can't be Cisco. We can't be Starbucks. So we're not the same business. We're not the same thing. So do you?
And every company has to make their own choices, don't they, about how you address all of these social networks, don't they? I mean, you can't. You've just got a great barometer because you're using your employees as your barometer, right? I mean, I think we get so caught up in where our audience is and where our message is best delivered and all that kind of stuff. But actually, your employees are your barometer.
They are, and
where they go is where you want to.
Well, it's not only where they go; it's where the talent goes. So one of the I don't know if I'd call it a downfall, but it's a challenge in building the channels the way we've built them. Is now we have sort of an internal reputation as being the employee channel. We are not. We are an external facing, talent attracting. Come work for us. This is our goal. This is our entire reason for being. We do use employees to tell that story, and we have employee followers. I would say maybe on Twitter, 1/6 of our audience is employees, but we want them to be our audience. We want them to share. But that's not the majority of our audience are people that have taken an interest in what we're doing. So we are not an employee channel. We use employees to tell their awesome stories, but we're not an employee channel. So that's down.
And just to help the folks who probably think, right, how does this, and I think you covered it a little bit earlier, but I just want to kind of make sure we've got it kind of clear what the process is, because it's not them submitting a story more often. So the whole thing of employer generated content isn't a scenario of a person sitting in Italy now going, right, I'm just going to post this thing, and it goes straight out onto Twitter without even you see everything on the way through. There is a degree of control over this, isn't there?
There is and there isn't. So simply stated, our process is this. It's a circle. We train employees, and by train, I mean encourage them, empower them, let them know it's a possibility. We train employees to talk about culture. What do you love about working at Cisco? We even have contests. Love where you work. We are Cisco. Tell us why you love here. It starts with the hashtag We Are Cisco in Twitter and Instagram. We listen. We listen on that. We're trained social people. We're trained storytellers. We can see the story where the employee may not see the story. So if we love the photo, just the photo, because often 140 characters doesn't tell us much about what's happening in the photo, but we can see the photo and we see there's a story there. And we will respond in social, visible to everyone, as We Are Cisco. We love this. We love the photo. Would you please send the original to us with permission to use it? Because again, they own the content, it's theirs. And tell us a little bit about what's happening in the photo. So we're coaxing the story out of them. And then when they email it to our email mailer, we're logging the photos, we're categorizing what we have permissions to use for what things. And more times than not, we, in that response, we're like, that's the story. You know, they'll start explaining the story. This is also, we had one from our Cisco Sales Associate program there. I bring this up because you're in London, and they're in front of the London Bridge, and they're going on a tour of the Thames River. Did I say that right? It's Thames, not Thames, right?
Yeah. No, Thames, yeah.
That was my cheeky bit of US humor there.
Got it right.
They're in front of the London, they're on a boat, you know, on their tour, and they're talking about celebrating graduating from the Cisco Sales Associates program, which is a training program for new grads. And they told us the story, and the story was not, here is us on the Thames celebrating graduating. It's some of the things that they learned from their program. Like, that's the story. So we'll go back to them. If we see that bigger story, we'll go back to them and say, you know what, there's a blog post there. Let us help you tell it. Or if we don't think it's maybe blog post size, because we have a social media problem. We are scheduled on our blog for 7 months. So
wow.
we are in the
not a lot of room, is
so
there?
Sometimes we have to now prioritize, because we get so much content in. This is, again, it builds on it. Like 2 years ago, we were fighting for stories, fighting for them. Now we're like, anybody else want this story? We don't have room for it. But we'll turn it into an Instagram story. We'll say, hey, you look like you Snap. We've seen you in Snapchat. Why don't you tell your story in Snapchat?
Yeah.
So we'll sort of guide them and direct them. And then we have content, and then we share it, and then they reshare it. So there's a circle of life on how we do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Makes good. I know. I like it. I like it. And look, I mean, who measures your success in all this? What do you kind of, because every company has, well, it's got to, there's got to be some ROI. They've got to feel like there's some kind of success factor as well. What do you get measured on in that respect? What is measured as success for the work that you do with this program?
We work on a funnel, just like sales works on a funnel. We have awareness, we have consideration, and we have decision. Awareness, brand building. So our goals there are very different, and that we measure based on goals. Callie, I go to social media conferences all the time, and I manage to work this into every presentation I give. You have to start with goals. There was a conversation on an employer brand group I'm a part of in Facebook, and they're like, if you had to pick one metric for your employer brand, what would it be? I'm like, trick question. Can't nor should you. If your goal is brand awareness, you measure very different than if your goal is decision, which is how many applies do we drive. We have the same ROI challenges I'm sure every company does in making sure we're measuring the right things. For us, when we're in the brand awareness, when we're in the top of the funnel, it's engagement rate. I would rather have 100 followers and a 20% engagement rate than 100,000 followers and a 0.007 engagement rate. I want to make sure that what we're saying is resonating with people. We measure.
No, I get it. I mean, I've worked in the social media industry for the last 10 years. I'm surrounded by these professionals, and it's a big divide between the social media world and recruitment world. Recruitment world needs a finite. Yes,
they have time to hire. You know,
you actually hire some people from it, but that's not your job to hire people from it. Your hire is to make.
It is. I think again, it depends on where the funnel we're sitting. So. We did an activation for May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And we asked our employees once again to tell us why. We have a new, all right, I'm going to back up a little bit and tell this story. I'm a storyteller, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we also launched a new career site in February. We redesigned it. Features all employee photos, either of employees or by employees, not one stock photo on the site. And I was asked by my colleague, because of my journalistic background, they said, can you write us some copy for the homepage? And I said, sure. And I wrote this, now they call it a tagline. I don't know if it's still, it's a thought. It's a feeling. It's be you with us. We are Cisco, which is the idea, because we hear from employees a lot that they can be their authentic self. They can be a Star Wars nerd or whatever it is. Come to Cisco, work with other great people, which is the with us part, and then we are Cisco. And as together, we really change the world. And we do. And it's not just a marketing statement. But we wrote this. And so this idea of being yourself is key. Again, it always has been. We just now have a tagline to go with it. It was kind of, again, an accidental tagline. It was supposed to be website. So we had this May the 4th contest. Show us how you can be you. Show us how you can be your geeky self. We had Star Wars parties at different sites, and we partnered with the NASDAQ, and we chose employee photos to be featured on the NASDAQ tower in Times Square, which I'm sure the NASDAQ would kill me for not knowing the specific numbers because they're such a great partner that we have. But, you know, views, eyeballs on that NASDAQ tower, it's like trending on Twitter. It's a big deal. Times Square, a lot of people pass through there. So we had this contest, and we chose a winner, and the winner was chosen. Her dog was BB-8, dressed as BB-8, and she was using Cisco technology from a distant planet, you know. So we had this contest, and I forgot where I was going with this. Isn't that terrible? I'm like, I had a great story. Now where was it going?
Yeah,
but anyway, I'll try to get back there.
Well,
but again, employee and generated content, all talking about it. But it allowed us to tell our story of who we are. And one of the pieces of who we are is that our recruiters are geeky nerds. I remember where I was going with this.
Yes, you're going to say so how you do hire people.
So one of our recruiters for our corporate functions team created a job description saying we were looking for a Jedi. And it was written in a way that was like, this is not a real job. We're all Jedis in what we do. It was a sourcing job. And as part of our social contest that day, we drove people to that rec where they could apply. Again, not a real job, but apply. We drove 25,000 people to that website or to that job requirement in one day. And that's we made a difference. 130 people applied. 30 were new to our talent network. That's return on investment from social. That's return on investment from employer brand. So that sits at the bottom of the funnel. We don't do that every day. We move in and out of the funnel.
No.
So we have different goals that we try.
But really well thought out, effective content can absolutely
drives down. At the end of every blog post is, don't you want to work for a company that gives back like this? Or don't you want to work for a cool group of engineers like this? Every blog post drives back into our career site. So we do have ROI that is affecting our talent acquisition team. And we have word of mouth. We have anecdotal. I told you a story earlier of a social media influencer who said he would go back to work for 3 companies and leave the world of entrepreneurship. And one of them was Cisco. And he says, because I see what the employees say every day. Now, his audience is probably more foreign to Cisco than Annie's because he's a social media influencer. That's his job. But that's huge. Like this influencer that gets paid big money to come speak at conferences I would go work at Cisco. And it's because of the strategy.
You get the real stories. And I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? Because where sometimes the way that I've seen your stuff and compared to where other companies have tried to kind of do a thing around it, you still feel like you're the authenticity. Authenticity.
I know it's a hard one.
It's still a challenge because isn't it? Because I think there is still a degree of cynicism in people in social media sometimes, isn't there? And you've got to package it and make sure it's packaged in a way that tells the very, very real
even
story,
though we do it,
rather than a kind of a marketing veneered version of the real story, which often then people go.
We stay away from that if we can. We have a lot of requests from the business that come in that way. We want to put text on graphics about, no, sorry, it's an employee image. And having that mission statement and having that goal has built sort of a protection for the team so that you understand as a business, this is what we do and why we do it the way we do it. And we have results and we have a nice award shelf and all that good stuff now, but that's all gravy. What we have is something that works and we have the metrics to show it works. And we try to keep the glossy marketing off of it, which is hard for a glossy marketer. right? I mean,
well, of course, but you know what, we all love
Yeah.
authentic. I mean, we believe in authentic. It's what we were saying earlier about trusted networks, isn't it? We believe in authentic, and so we crave authentic, frankly,
but
don't we, a lot
even
of the
such
time?
authenticity,
Because of the big market.
interestingly enough, we had a blog post from one of our employees, a woman in tech, and her story was, I mean, I dare you to read it. It's like onions peeling everywhere. It's a very emotional story. And it was our most commented blog ever. We had more comments on this blog than we'd ever had. And again, it's the power of the story. And we put it on LinkedIn. And when we put it on LinkedIn, we, again, not in a glossy marketing way. We're like, this is our most commented on story ever. Thought you might like it.
Yeah.
Here's her story. Her name is Monica. And even in that raw authenticity that we didn't have any control over, someone commented on our LinkedIn feed and said, I certainly hope this is not a model. I hope, because I see a lot of companies doing that, using models for their employees, and I don't like it. And as the brand, I was there. I was ready to jump in. I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. Like, real person. But I didn't have to. She did. Because she...
Oh, brilliant.
Again, we have worked with her. We've built relationships with her. She popped in and she says, nope, I'm real, 100% me. And then her network saw it. And once her network saw it, it was like, oh no, Monica's real. She's awesome. She's great. Something, again, that was accidental that we as a brand could have never done. Never. She did it.
No, absolutely. Great. So obviously, as I said to you beforehand, one of the questions I was going to ask is what hasn't worked? What's been the pain points? And you pre-warned me to say there isn't anything that hasn't. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've had some pain points along the way, but I mean, because we can't paint this perfect picture of the whole way, can we? Or can we? I don't know. I mean,
again, I think that is the bonus of working at Cisco, is that we, you know, and it comes in pockets. So I can't say that every team and every geo works this way, but generally, the executive leadership team says, like, the way to innovate is to fail. You're not going to innovate if you don't take chances and take risks. And the fact that our team sits within HR, because I know there's this big argument, should the employer brand sit in marketing or should it sit in HR? I usually, my answer to that is HR, because I like the slight removal. Only slight. We follow Cisco brand guidelines. We don't break the rules to any big extent, but we have a little more freedom because we're not constrained by agencies. We're not constrained by things that, you know, corporate marketing teams are generally facing, which I think allows us to take more risk. And we are backed up by leadership. You know, on the times where people have questioned the things we're doing, our leadership backed us up, because we've spent 2 years proving it out. Now, had it happened 2 years ago, I don't know if they would have backed up.
Because you have the combination. I mean, the one thing that I think some companies will obviously die and wish for is to have the leadership who believe and back this to start with, which of course is a massive part of it. But many have to bring the business case first before the trust, before they need the business case first, don't they? And I think, was there any part that you still have to bring in business case? Do you have to fight this argument many times? Or,
it depends on who we're talking to. I think our leadership is much more bought in now, and it's a matter of, for example, you know, we did employee takeovers of Snapchat, and how are you going to do that? How are you going to take even more risk? We have now given live contributor status on Facebook employees. So we're now handing over Facebook Live to employees. So, you know, it's scary.
Cool. Yeah.
But we did have to, before we did it, go with a business case to say, this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
This is why we think we should.
Because then you really are handing the keys over there, aren't you? I mean, I was going to ask what's really the next developments in this, really, is to kind of close it off, as to kind of, where does this all go now? How can it, and I guess that's it, isn't it? It's taking more risk in a strange sort of way to be even more authentic and real.
Yeah, and I think our team has gotten used to it. I think it's still scary, but it's less scary because, again, we've had a year of Snapchat takeovers where, you know, we've built process into place and we've built safeguards into place. And I think we did that to make ourselves feel better, but we've never really had to use them. And they're there to protect us. So if we ever do feel like an employee has gone off the rails a little bit, we have that ability to rein it back in. But they consider this, I mean, we have to take our hats off as marketers a lot of times and think of ourselves as the employees that we are too. And they consider it such an honor. It makes me laugh and makes me verklempt a little bit too, to think about how something that we've built affects employees' lives so much. They feel like they are the bee's knees, and they are. You know, they are our ambassadors. And there's that piece of it as well, that if you put your employee hat on, you can see the power and the strength behind it. And then if you put your marketer hat back on, you'll be like, I just need to harness it. Like, I just need to harness it. I don't need to control it. And I think it's that control that you have to learn. It's scary for me still, you know. But it, you know, it keeps you on your toes for sure.
Exactly. And it keeps it alive. And that's the thing, is a lot of these things can become quite repetitive, can't? Because I mean, what's nice to see is, despite it being 3 years on and however long through the whole program, you still got the same kind of, you know, it still gives you the same kind of kick that it gave back then, around how exciting each of these things are really to do, because that's what's interesting about employee experiences. They're far more interesting than brand experiences.
Generally.
And the more diverse, the more interesting. And that is the blog.
Yeah, it is. I posted in there that is the blog.
The right side,
but that's what makes us different. That's what has given us the empowerment to go. And again, I think the employees have so much ownership. Oh no, did you lose me again?
We just had a little bit of a Star Trek moment, but no, you're back.
I'm back. The lovely world of technology, but they own it and they feel good about it, so they don't want to do something wrong. No,
well, I think that's a big part of it. Nobody ever really means to do anything wrong, do they? No. I mean, that's the thing. I always think we have to still have this thing that, despite the cynical comments that we get now and again on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, because there's always going to be a degree of cynicism on LinkedIn, the common grain of human people is that they want to do good things and they want to support the people around them. It's in our nature, isn't it? So it's yeah, absolutely. And Katrina says, Katrina's got onions over there.
Yeah, that blog is pretty powerful.
Quite clearly. Been reading. It's cutting onions as well. One last question, because we've probably a little gone over our time, but it's really interesting. So one last question, just to kind of, if you were walking into, let's say you dread the thought, you left Cisco tomorrow and walked into another company in September and started this role in another organization, would you do the same thing again?
Absolutely. I don't see another way to do it. I don't see another way. You know, this is why it took us a year as a team to get on Snapchat. We kept trying to figure out how are we going to do it, and the way back to our mission of making personal connections and do it in the safe way. It didn't exist. And I would absolutely do it the same way. Well, and it's again because, you know, we talked about this before we went live. I'm a marketer. I'm a social media marketer. No matter what my title says, as hopefully I move through the organization, at the heart, I'm passionate about social and telling stories. And that is what has helped drive our employer brand. Now we have an events person. Now we have a website person. Our team has grown. We have more purview that falls under our team. But it started, the website would not be the website it is today with employee photos had we not started as a team with this idea of social and telling authentic stories then. So I'm not taking credit for the website. That's my colleague, Ray, and he's awesome. But
No, but it's the whole, it's the ecosystem you've created, isn't
Yeah.
it? You guys have created there, isn't it? It's just kind of, it's good. And I think that the reason I asked that question is because I sort of believe that it's not impossible in any organization, isn't it? It requires a little bit of, well, the word is trust again, isn't it? It's that massive trust word again, isn't it? And internal trust as much as the wider trust that we talked about earlier. But it's not impossible for any organization to try and do something with this.
No, it's harder for some. I mean, I think of highly regulated industries like financial and healthcare would probably have the biggest hurdles to overcome. But again, I feel like if you can make a case,
the more don't.
If you can make a case and you can surround yourself with process, not so much that people have to jump through 50 hoops to do something, because that will put up a barrier and they won't do it. But if you can build a process in and make them sign a social media agreement, which all of our social media ambassadors do, if you can understand what's expected, I think that there's still a way that you can get legals buy-in in those heavily regulated industries. But I would do it the same way. But I hope that I'm not going anywhere for a really long time, because
no, I wasn't trying to tout you for a job. I was
no, people, you know,
I was just
I get approached.
More because I mean,
people ask me, would you leave? And I'm like, I
bet you. I bet you do. Yeah.
Well, but what we talk about is real. I don't.
Yeah.
I work for a company that places giving back to your community as a huge thing, and that's never something I've had before. I have a company that lets me fly and lets me risk and innovate, which I've never had before. I've always been shut down. Why would I leave that? It truly
absolutely.
It is. Please send job offers to go.
And I think that might be the sticking point for a lot of companies, won't it? It's that ability, that willingness to take some risks. That I think, you know, and look, I mean, all good business leaders have a degree of risk averseness to them and all that kind of stuff.
I do too.
Because you need a little bit of that. Yeah, exactly. We need a bit, but it's kind of, I think hopefully it's an inspiring story for people, because I think it shows the method that's kind of worked. And as we were saying beforehand, you know, for it to be a company like Cisco, which is a technology B2B organization on the whole, you know, it goes against the grain of what you'd expect, isn't it? Which is equally brilliant as well. So it's good. Well, look, Carmen, thank you very much. That was
Thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed that. It's a big subject I love as well, the whole bit of how you engage people in the process and the commonality element. So that's so look, really appreciate that. Thanks for watching and asking questions on the right hand side, everybody, and anybody who's watching afterwards. Obviously, ask questions. I think you'll see Shirky Collins on Twitter, aren't you? And is that the best way to,
yep.
to kind of
tweet
say hi
me.
to you?
My handle is the same on Instagram too, so you can find me that way.
Yeah, cool, good. And look, I'm taking a break from the show now for summer, and we're going to come back in September and do some more of these back then. But so yeah, look, thanks very much, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you very much again for Carmen for being awesome, and take care and see you soon. Bye, everybody.